Legally in Love, written and narrated by C. Taylor, edited to meet YouTube guidelines. To purchase the unedited book, please click the link in the description. Chapter 8b. From Emma's perspective, Jen had already placed the corporation financial reports on her desk. Helene hadn't arrived yet, and since she would still be in charge of the research, she started to scan the documents. Anything to distract her from the fact that she would soon face her mom to be taken off the case. Would she actually have to tell her why? How the hell would she react when she found out she married John? Helene had never hidden the fact that she didn't like him. Now he was her son-in-law. She couldn't help but flinch at the vivid image of the most likely outcome. She decided to wait to tell her until a more appropriate time. Like, never. She finished with that folder and moved to the next. As she grabbed it, another folder fell from the stack, smaller and a different color than the others. Intrigued, she picked it up and opened it. The first page had her attention. Was she seeing what she was seeing? She turned to the next page. More proof. Her eyes rolled and her temper flared. She'd warned them. At least now she had a non-married reason to recuse herself. She heard Helene arrive. Feeling slightly less nauseous about speaking with her mother, she headed to her office. She leaned through the door. "Helene, may I have a minute?" Helene was already on the phone, but still motioned her to come in. Emma settled in the seat in front of Helene's desk and waited. Her phone call ended and she turned to her daughter. "Can you make it quick?" she asked. "Of course." Emma leaned forward and placed the folder on her desk. "I'm pretty sure this wasn't supposed to be sent to me. The documents inside show they are already pulling funds from smaller companies to finance their litigation." "I was clear about my strategy for the case. I can't continue with it, Helene." Helene didn't even look at the folder, just kept her eyes on Emma, who started to feel like a young child again. "Emma, I indulged you at the meeting, but as a lawyer, we can only make recommendations. We do not direct clients. They direct us." Her words were more stern than usual. Emma resisted the urge to shrink back in her chair. What was happening? "My whole legal strategy involved focusing on the health of the companies. If they are refusing my strategy, then literally anyone else in the firm could represent them better than I can. I'd like to be taken off the case." "No." Helene's answer stunned her. "What? Why?" "We need you on this case." "That doesn't make any sense. They weren't happy with me being assigned the case in the first place and clearly disagreed with my strategy. How does it make sense to make me stay?" "You are a brilliant lawyer. I have every faith you will develop another way to win this case." Something was wrong. She leaned forward and spoke softly. "Helene, what is going on?" Helene didn't lean forward. Her eyes stayed focused and stern. "Your education and level of skill would profit the firm much more if you started litigating again and not just research. That work is for paralegals. If you don't feel able to handle the case to the level our clients need, you will no longer be employed here." Emma sat back and froze. What was she hearing? "Are you saying if I don't stay on this case, you're firing me?" "You need to work at the level of your education and skill. If you're not willing or able to do that, you won't continue at this firm," she repeated. "I got my degree in psychology to get into law school for a reason, Helene. My strategy represents the highest level of my education and skill. The client's refusing to accept my fundamental recommendation. Clearly, neither my education nor my skill are needed in this case." Why did she need to explain this? "Emma, I will not repeat myself again." Helene's eyes stayed focused, jaw set and unyielding. Any further arguments would be futile. Emma knew it. She felt her eyes start to burn with tears and knew she was about to disgrace herself at work. She watched her mother, a flash of emotion in her eyes before they returned to stern. Emma's eyes narrowed. She leaned forward again. "Did you have these sent to me?" Helene flinched. It was quick and slight, but Emma saw it. "Don't be ridiculous, Emma." "Mom," Emma started to ask another question. She was cut off by Helene. "You have a choice to make. Stay on the case and work it the way our client directs, or clean out your office." Now it was Emma's turn to flinch, harder and much more obvious than her mom. She waited for the "just kidding" that never came. She stood, stepped away from her chair and out of her office. This wouldn't take long. She really didn't have much of anything personal in her office. She just had to get her purse, numbly returned to her car, and before she knew it, she was sitting in her condo wondering what the hell just happened. After her father died and Christian left for college to study business, not law, it had been her and her mom. Why had she forced her out? Now her mom was all alone in a firm that was as cutthroat as they came. Her father had been the titan and driving force of the firm. Helene had been more of the financial genius and public relations force of the firm. Emma saw her mother's struggles. She had agreed to law school and joined the firm to try and help her. She had failed her mother again. The guilt was overwhelming. She turned off her phone and was just huddled in her couch, her mind numb, unable to think of a way to fix everything she'd messed up. There was a knock at her door. She went to the door, peered through the peephole, and cursed. Christian, great. She wiped her eyes and pulled herself together before opening the door. "Hey, sis," he said simply. He raised his arms and moved toward her. Helpless to even pretend she didn't need his hug, she accepted it. He was taller than John, so her head settled under his chin. "May I ask why you're not with your husband right now?" The question made her flinch and lean back to look at him. "May I ask why you arranged a marriage between your sister and best friend without telling either?" His face leaned to the right slightly, his expression accusational. "Are you saying both of you would have gotten together on your own?" She wanted to say yes, but she knew better. "I'd object, but I'd have to overrule myself," she relented. Christian did as close as he came to a chuckle with anyone except Andy. It was more of a slight smile and sharp exhale. "It's time you returned to the land of the living, Emma. You're not dead, and since you fought and won that battle on more than one occasion, you need to accept that living is where you belong." She leaned back into his chest, letting his strength calm the hysteria his words caused. "Why is that way more terrifying than its alternative?" He tightened his arms around her. "Because you're a weirdo." Emma smiled and hugged her brother tighter. She was weird, always had been, but her brother could always make her feel like it was okay, like she was okay. The front door opened again, and Andy entered, followed by John, worry etched all over his face. His eyes focused on her, and he lifted his hand in invitation for her to come to him. Slowly, she took the offered hand. He pulled, and soon his body was around her, holding her tight. She never felt more safe. Her body shook gently as her careful emotional control gave into the comfort he provided. Only him. Behind her, she heard Christian talk. "Take her home. We'll take care of everything here." She felt John's head nod and felt him gently pull her toward the door. "No, I can do it." She turned and wiped her eyes again. "I just have to call the rental company to come for the furniture. The linen company offers pickup services for the sheets, bedding, and most of the towels. I just need to pack my clothes and toiletries." She pulled away from John and headed for her room. John held her hand tight. Christian let out a sigh and looked at her, not letting her gaze leave his. "I know. I noticed your list of instructions and numbers by your landline." "What? How? Nobody notices landlines anymore." Damn, she thought she'd been clever. "What were you expecting? We just make a few phone calls and continue with our day?" Christian's words were calm, but she could see the flare of his nose. Emma thought it was a really good plan, but hearing it from Christian, it didn't sound so great. "Well, yeah, kind of." This time Andy moved, taking Emma by both her shoulders. "What the hell, Emma?" Emma winced, but had to admit she deserved that one. If Andy had tried anything like this, Emma would have lost her mind. Christian put his arms around his wife and made sure Emma was looking him right in the eyes. "We would have still missed you, Emma. Making it easy to get rid of all your stuff wouldn't have made it any easier to lose you." Andy's hands relaxed at her shoulders, but Emma could see tears glistening in the corners of her eyes. Emma looked down, shame reddening her face. "I'm sorry, I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't know what else to do." This was becoming the worst day ever. She felt her mother, felt her brother and best friend, probably felt her husband, just didn't exactly know how yet. "I know," Christian stated quietly. "I saw it happening, but we needed to make sure our company was stable first. Then Andy was pregnant. But we're here now, and we need you back, Emma." She felt her lips tremble and tears gathered. "I don't know how." "Let John take you home. We'll bring your things." Christian's words helped Emma feel like she could breathe again. "After that, we'll help you figure that out." John moved his lips next to her ear. "Let's go home." She felt herself walking. Soon they were in the parking lot, and she moved toward her car. John pulled her back. "Christian and Andy will bring it. Let me just take you home." Too relieved to argue and still not trusting her voice, she leaned in closer to John and followed him. Raising the other hand not holding his, she grasped the upper part of his arm to steady herself as they walked. Home. She was irrationally thrilled to be going back. She buckled in and relaxed against the seat. He climbed in the driver's side and started the truck. Once he was on the road, he took her hand in his. "Was your mom really mad when she found out we were married?" he asked quietly. "I didn't tell her." His hand flexed, holding hers. "Are you embarrassed?" She looked right at him. Of being the wife of a Greek god? Not for a second. This brought a slight smile. He reached up and gently cupped the side of her face, urging her to tell him. "I didn't tell her because the client refused my strategy, and that gave me an alternate reason to recuse myself. She forced me to choose stay on the case under the client's rules or leave the firm. I was so shocked the subject of our marriage vanished from my mind." Recounting it started her lip quivering again. She took a calming breath and looked up to keep the gathering liquid from dripping from her eyes. "Why did she do that?" "I don't know. Something is really wrong, but she won't tell me anything. I've never felt so helpless. It was like she was shutting me out. She had to stop. If she said anything else, the crying would start again." "That bothers you?" His question was gentle. He had no idea what he was threatening to bring up for her. Could she even put words to it? She took a deep breath and tried. "My kidnapping. My health issues since then, nearly dying so many times. I think I caused my dad's heart attack." The guilt and heartache robbed her ability to say more for a few moments. He squeezed her hand and waited. "With Christian going into business, I thought I could at least make sure she wasn't alone at the firm. I guess that didn't work out very well." Once she started, she couldn't seem to stop herself, and it all came out in little more than a whisper. "As penance? For robbing her of her life mate? Yeah, I thought it was the least I could do. I feel like I failed her again." No keeping the moisture from dripping this time. Tears streamed down her cheeks. He raised her hand to his lips and kissed its back, then pulled it to his chest. "May I offer a different perspective on how you see it?" She looked up at him, lips still quivering. "Of course. Your father had his first heart attack before you'd even been taken. He ignored all his doctor's advice to cut down on his stress and work hours, change his diet, get some exercise, and had two more before his final one. Your health may have contributed, but it was hardly the biggest factor. If anything, he brought it on himself." "Christian told you this?" She wasn't sure how to believe what he was saying. She knew nothing about any other heart attacks. "Yes, most of them happened while he was at work. Your mother told you he was on work trips. They kept the truth about the first one from you, then you started getting sick, and they made sure you didn't know about the others." Her emotions quieted as she processed the new information. "He looked so worried when I woke up from my first coma. I thought for sure I'd done it to him." She laid her head back against the headrest. The weight from years of guilt started to ease, leaving her exhausted. "Really?" she wanted to believe and asked. His face relaxed into a gentle smile. "Really," he confirmed. They pulled into the garage, and for the first time she wasn't a guest as they walked through the door. This was her home now. Her mind still struggled that this was real, and yet it already felt so familiar. She turned to John, hooked her arm around the back of his head, and pulled him in to kiss him hard. His arms wrapped around her waist and pulled her close. She broke the kiss and asked breathlessly, "When do you have to be back at the office?" His eyes were already dark. "I only have a few minutes. This will have to be hard and quick."